All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of FMA Dumpster Fire podcast. I really ought to change that name. So today, I'm going to be speaking with none other than the CEO of Filipino Martial Arts, Dean Franco. And again, whenever Dean and I talk, for the most part, it's unscheduled stuff, right? He saw a video that I released earlier today, which was actually a repost of a video about me sort of just being upfront that I don't have the quote unquote experience to teach knife work. And yet I keep getting a ton of, seminar requests. And Dean is going to talk a little bit about himself and his experiences, but he messaged me and he's like, hey, great video. Sounds like a topic for a future FMA discussion. And I said, yes, sounds good. Why don't we just do it right now? So without further ado, the CEO. I'm going to get you in trouble but if I keep calling you the CEO.
The CEO?
The CEO of Filipino
I heard
Martial.
he retired. I don't know. I heard he quit or retired.
You
know what? Here, just give me a moment. I'm going to share this to FMA Discussion.
You know what I'll do is we're doing things on the fly.
Stabbed, and I've never stabbed.
There we go. This is the video that kind of got your attention. That's the best way to orient this. Here we go. No,
it's officially shared.
Yeah, so it was this video that sparked it. Dean is just going to go ahead and share. You know what? I'm going to since this is going live on my my personal Facebook page as well. By the way, guys, thank you for your patience. We're gonna get going over here in just a second. Dean, you got some things on your mind as well,
Yeah.
Some things going down. Let's begin with this.
Yeah, so again, like as you referenced, I saw your video and I just thought it was a good topic to talk about. And of course, I'm sure we'll segue into other topics that are relevant to this. But there was a profound aspect to it, I found, in that, obviously the integrity to yourself and the honesty to your audience, and that's kind of what I've projected to my students in Blade Tech, very similar to you, and that, touching upon, we try to replicate as much as humanly possible without taking weather conditions, slippery conditions, surface conditions, sweaty hands, for instance, just examples here.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, back to the original point, that honesty to my students. I haven't been in knife fights. I haven't been incarcerated. I have done the due diligence, though, however, to look at prison systems in its entirety for relevance and where attacks are happening as we're speaking this very moment, and trying to draw upon those while also taking into account the different trajectories of that, how it can come, whether it's a latch and stab, and maybe it's just not this, but maybe, whatever it could be, for instance, just for example. But just trying to be the best version of me and give the best version of content to my students. And I think it's an ethical, moral obligation if we're teaching knife or anything against knife, that we do look at all this stuff to be relevant, but to be, in other words, Blade Tech is a fully comprehensive system. I mean, I chose to look at prison systems. First was Piper. Medusa wasn't even out yet. When Medusa came around, intrigued me. I took it. So I feel that in order what to extract far as tactics, I feel personally, I have to look at the whole system. You know what I mean?
Well, Dean, a less educated individual might say, well, Dean Franco, you've never been to jail. How can you possibly teach a prison-based system?
Right. And it's so funny. Well, if you look at the majority of people teaching, I'm sure there's a few who have been in there, but the most folks I've talked to have not been in there. So by virtue of poor choices, that means I'm irrelevant in the spectrum of teaching. In other words, okay, you get bit by a shark. I'm not going to go to, hey, so the fence for a shark, but I may ask you this. Hey, what did it feel like? What was your initial response after you get bit? What did you do immediately after you get it? I will definitely ask folks that stuff, but I'm not going to go seek them out for quote unquote, man, he's got the stuff because he was in there.
Right. And this is, let's go watch the video first. Okay. So this is the video that first sparked or reignited this conversation. It's a video I released, must have been last year, but I re-released it recently because of a run-in that I had with another system who is garbage. Anyway, I don't want to talk. Anyway, so here's the video, guys.
I've never been stabbed, and I've never stabbed anyone. I've also never been shot at least not by enemy combatants. If our metric for credible knife defense and firearms training is how many times our instructors have been in stabbings and firefights, we'd all be training under gangbangers and drug addicts. For the most part, those experiences hold value if they're on the right side of the law, like a cop or a soldier. If not, being in shootings and stabbings is more a sign of poor life choices and bad decisions. Remember that each experience is traumatic and unique, and the value of those experiences mostly rests with the person who experienced it. The student cannot magically receive powers by osmosis and association with a badass instructor. You still have to apply logic and healthy skepticism to anything you learn until you've proven it to yourself. And one last thing, even the baddest motherfucker on the planet can be a terrible teacher, and all you might be left with are cool stories to help you argue your illogical points on the internet.
There's a lot to unpack there, Dean.
Yeah, but you know what? I thought you did an incredible job, and you know what you do. I mean, I've told you this before. You have a knack of stuff like this, and but yeah, absolutely a lot to draw from. And you know, a couple things that stood out for me was one, your honesty. Two, yeah, the whole thing of this. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're an average layman and you go there and you're hearing all these stories and this tough guy image and all that. And you just wanted to go there just to get some skills. And now you have to listen to all this because they need to sound relevant, and they weren't picked on the baseball team when they were younger. So now, whatever the reason may be for them to basically overcompensate for what they perceive as their notoriety, ability, and importance, right? You know?
Yeah. You know who validates these thoughts for me, so that I just know, and that I'm not talking out of my ass, even though this is a bit of an appeal to authority. But, you know, I do work with a lot of law enforcement professionals, duty soldiers and veterans. They validate these ideas. You know, maybe two of them right here. Let's get rid of this right here. Being in any encounter doesn't grant you relevance. It grants you perspective. And if that perspective is given correctly, it has value. If not, it's ego stroking. I did an entire series of interviews with some top trainers in the United States talking about, hey, number one, what did you learn from the gunfights that you've been in? And number two, from what you learned, what can you actually pass along to your students? And for the vast majority of the answers, it was, they kind of struggled with it a little bit. And the answer is they can't pass along that experience to their students. They can share stories. The students can be inspired to think. Experience, like I noted in that video, is unique to the individual who experienced it. But unfortunately, those who may be less educated in how to seek credible instruction might feel that, you know, somebody who has a lot of experience like that will transfer to them. Like Dean, if you and I went to a basketball camp taught by Michael Jordan, okay, we are not going to be anywhere near his level, and he can tell us about his game-winning shot, Game 7 to win the NBA Finals. What can we learn from that other than maybe be inspired? You know,
absolutely nothing. Right.
So let me read Brian Kanata. Yet those same professors produce people that do. Meaning to say, I suppose what he means is that professors who may not have experience in, let's say, aeronautics, have a hand in teaching people who go to outer space. another veteran. Another veteran here. Many war historians have never been in the military or seen combat. However, academically, they are great at conveying information. So,
and I think that's it. We're looking at conveyance and we're looking at experience. So maybe we didn't experience, but hey, we're able to convey information. Now, I'm certainly not patting myself on the back, but I get accolades from my students of what I give to them and my approach to them and all that. So meaning I would assume I'm a good conveyor of information and being the best at them in that. Right. But I'm clearly, much to your point, very transparent in the fact that, the only time something happened to me, and it wasn't a holdup. My father was talking to this guy in a pizza place, and I was supposed to meet him there. My father was talking about me and like God, this is like late 90s, how I was doing knife stuff and this and that. So I go in there and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, here's my son." And so the guy just goes, "Hey, what would you do like this and there?" I mean, but it wasn't like a holdup, but I kicked right in. I went 2-on-1 and boom, just out of like reflex. Now, I probably should have been angry at that guy for like what he did, but after saying my father, I'm like, man, I pulled that off. I mean, it wasn't a real attack. I don't want to get this misconstrued, but just in the moment, you know what I mean? Right. I clicked in, right? It wasn't a holdup. I wasn't being asked for my money or anything like that. But that's to as far as what has ever happened to me, and I'm completely transparent and honest about it, as well as you are.
Yeah. There's a lot of misconception about what actually goes down because we live in the digital age. We see and we are exposed to so many, knife attacks caught on CCTV. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the statistics, okay, even if you've watched 1,000 knife attacks on the internet, that pales in comparison to the actual number of knife attacks and knife assaults that happen. And so it's important for us not to get a false conclusion as to what actually happens out there. So in my speaking with some professionals in the field, there is this pervasive idea that somebody who is a drug addict in a drug-induced knife frenzy somehow has superpowers, right? And tell me if this makes logical sense, okay? Because the cop, a 25-year law enforcement, good friend of mine who began to explain this to me about this fallacy, he's like, "Paulo, does that really make sense? If you think about this man is homeless, he's undernourished, he's not going to the gym to work out, his cardio is terrible, his physical condition is really, really poor. And do you think all of a sudden being drug-induced gives him some kind of a superpower? No." He goes, these guys, for him at least, they're easy to deal with, And so the point in me saying that is a lot of the times when people talk about, this is not all, okay? Mm-hmm. But I certainly know of the tendency to want to embellish your experience. To glorify and sort of embellish it. And also the nature of traumatic events is that our memory and our ability to recall the specific details of that kind of become clouded. So we get kind of caught up into this, this guy, I might tell a story about, this guy, he was threatening me, with a pair of scissors, and he tried to lunge at me and I did this move and that move. The actual reality of that event may not be so exciting. Right. And so I want to make sure, because I'm getting requests from all over the world. I am, getting requests for border control units and, personal protection units and even one military instruction unit. And I release these videos specifically because sometimes, like I have my green T-shirt that says Army on it, and I got it from a base in the Philippines in Fort Magsaysay. as sort of a token of friendship from those people. I wear a PPCLI, which is an Army regiment here in Canada. And I get these tokens of appreciation, these gifts from my friends who are in law enforcement and in the military. And I never, ever want people to mistake me from somebody who is a former soldier. I'm not. I'm a civilian through and through, guys. So I release these videos as a matter of being honest. Now, why is it important for you, Dean, to be honest with your students about your experiences? And do you ever run into negative commentary of people questioning your credibility as an instructor because you don't have quote unquote experience?
Well, not that I've been made aware of. Now, I'm sure behind, the scenes, maybe there's been a few. Luckily, I would say my students do say, which is I'm very thankful, say nice things about me and my delivery system and the content that I expose them to. But I'm sure perhaps maybe behind the scenes there has been that. I've just never been made aware of it.
Do you feel, what imposter syndrome is?
I have a feeling, but go ahead.
Well, I thought I knew what imposter syndrome was, but it's really it's a feeling of insecurity.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of insecurity and self-doubt in yourself, despite you actually being credible and valid to teach or express something. So imposter syndrome isn't that you're a fake and you're afraid you will be exposed as a fake or a fraud. Imposter syndrome is really this feeling that maybe I'm not good enough, despite the fact that you are good enough. You ever get that?
No, not completely. No, and the reason why I believe that and I'm able to validate that is since with specifics to no other martial arts, but with dealing with FMA against knife since the late 90s. So I can honestly say without expanding on the truth or it's been now like 25 years of just like in the trenches and just dealing with failures and the stress inoculation and et cetera, everything that goes along with if you're really dealing with integrity and being against knives. So I have not gone through that. There are times though I will intermittently for brief periods of time will question myself maybe, and usually generally it's out of a bad day and I'll just be like, okay, who am I to be doing this? But then what I do is I have a very quick cure for that.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to hear it.
And I kind of shared this with you some months ago. I go on YouTube and I see what the majority are doing, and I said, you know what?
I'm pretty good. Well, okay, and it's funny you mentioned that because that very same thing can sometimes be the cause of me feeling imposter syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. Because I look at some of the stuff out there and I may think, okay, I'm all right. But then my list of mentors, bro,
look at mine, Tom Sodas, David Gould. I mean, you're talking about two of the nastiest guys maybe arguably on the planet. So, but your mentor list goes like you far exceed mine, like where you're going, like you.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't.
But in law enforcement and all that, like I don't have direct ties to some of the folks you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. But same idea, right, Dean? Like we look at our mentors and, I look at Jared Weehungi and, Gary Drake, who retired, I believe, as a lieutenant, Sergeant Angula, and the list goes on and on and on. And these people who not only have been training for a really long time, teaching for a really long time, but also have real world experiences. I mean, I'm co-hosting seminars with people who are like, are you sure I'm the right, like, Are you sure you got the right guy, bro? All I do is, we play games, we look at some research and data, we compete. And they're like, no. And really that's what gives me a little bit of validation, is that I get called by people who can easily kick my ass and have way more experience than I do. But yeah, I still go through these moments where I'm like, should I be teaching this? Who am I?
Yeah, it's certainly understandable because of the magnitude of what we're doing to subject matter and how lives are potentially at stake. So I think it's really good in a way that we do take it this seriously, to be quite honest. Imagine if we were lackadaisical in that. I mean, it would be, irresponsible. So I think it's healthy in a way, long as it doesn't get so bad where you're actually bringing yourself down, then it affects your teaching and your transformation information. I think that can obviously be the adverse effect of that. So I keep a healthy outlook. And the thing is too, I'm most confident in, I really stay relevant. If there's for instance, I mentioned Medusa. So this new system came out. It's probably the newest system on the block, I'm guessing. And so to be relevant, I immediately went into there, surrendered as a student, which I obviously have no problem doing. Started, quote unquote, the white belt level in there. But the reason, getting back to why I suddenly feel like that, is because I make such a concerted effort to be relevant, and I get in the trenches with my students. It's just, you know what I mean? And, when you see some of my videos, it's not me hanging on the sidelines,
Right.
dictating. So that's kind of what justifies my rationale and how I feel.
No, that's I actually really admire that from you, Dean, that you jump into all of these different systems and you learn the ins and outs of them. What I like to focus on, and sorry, before I go back, before I continue, let me go back. I take this stuff lightly. I forgot this quote, but it's something along the lines of, it's about finding this balance about taking things lightly but studying it seriously, and that's sort of my approach. And
this could be really interesting.
Go on.
This is going to be really interesting, and because I think sometimes I take it too seriously, and I think why. Like, I love your lightheartedness, the way I wish I could do that, but we're all different, right? In other words, when I reference I take it seriously, is because some of it's probably OCD driven, and my just overall sense of I gotta give these guys the best possible. I have to be the best for them. I mean, to where it keeps me up at night. No exaggeration. However, though, that's me. That's probably some might consider that excessive. I wish I had a little more kind of play aspect in that. But I'm not too serious where we were talking about before, where I'm making a negative experience for my students. I'm too serious in making sure that I'm giving them the best. I'm being the best. I'm being completely honest.
Right.
Did I miss out? Did I not cross that T? Did I not dot that I? But I don't create a negative, that whole, yelling and shouting, and we're now, nothing like to that, of course.
On that note, a lot of people really enjoy that stuff when they're being yelled at and berated and slapped around.
Guy. Yeah, not this guy.
I think there's a time and a place for, scenario training. By the way, I think it's always important, even in a one-day seminar, to at least briefly cover the importance of, emotional gravity and visualization and projecting your intention to actually harm your training partner, right? Remember, you're projecting the intention. Sure. Which is very different than actually trying to go at them with full force. There is also a time and a place for that. So emotional gravity is certainly important, but I think people conflate right? They sort of confuse the play acting, role playing scenario as being an indication of actually good training or hard training. When they hear yelling and they see emotion being expressed, they immediately correlate what happens after to it being a good technique, a valid technique, something that should be taught. And it's important not to do that. These two things are ingredients to a much bigger dish. I made the comment to somebody who responded to me in a comment about how, oh, I guess you don't think scenario training is an important element of training. And I said, no. And the analogy I drew was, look, scenario training is an important element as cheese is an important element to pizza. But if you present to me a block of cheese and call that pizza, there's a ratio that's so way off, and you're calling it something that it's not. And not only that, the people who's presenting this big block of cheese, they're actually going to Italy and telling Italians that they're making pizza wrong, because cheese is so important that we're going to just over cheesify it. I don't know, man. It's ridiculous to me. Dean, throughout all of your journey, your training, if you were to have 1 hour to train somebody with relatively no experience on knife defense, and look, I don't want to get into awareness and all that stuff. I'm talking about a physical.
You're talking about hands-on, no pre-violence stuff, what to look for, none of that.
Just talk about that stuff.
Just
what do you
hands-on.
You have 1 hour.
I'm gonna focus on what is quote unquote construed as the more common attacks out there, and giving them degrees of different trajectories in there. I'm definitely gonna go, far as, in other words, in blade tech, we reference triangles. Triangles for context for methodology, or what and how we apply it, right? So I would give them, from the before, during, after, early on, time, late, reaction, recognition, recovery, equalizer, egress, ethical obligation, you know what I mean? And so I would touch upon a few of those with only an hour, but I would definitely give them hands-on far as the more common attacks and enforcing them, the gross motor movements there, as opposed to fine. Well, I mean, you've seen my stuff. I mean, it's, the 2-on-1 in there, and that's kind of the lane I would stay in there with, again, 60 minutes at my hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not a whole lot of, that's not a whole lot of time. That's not a whole lot of time at all.
Yeah. So, in other words, here's something that'll kind of give some further clarification to that. So in my system, I have tiers, meaning that, and this is what you'll see where this segues into it. So in other words, okay, let's say, I went to a camp in Florida. I was a guest teacher at Chad Bailey's camp. So you get 50-minute increments, right? And all that. So I got 50 minutes. So I decided to show them tactical flashlight with a Piper translation, right? And so, okay, now in that 50 minutes, I could have gave them all these different striking patterns and et cetera and all that. But what I chose to do was instead, I'm going to give them distance, frame out, orbits, because I have 50 minutes. Right? You know what I mean? Now, let's take that 50 minutes, what I just demonstrated. I got 2 hours. Well, now I have more time, assuming I'm staying within the lens of what I was taught down there. Yeah, so an hour's tough, man. You know what I mean? You have to dial in, and
Do you incorporate gameplay and gamification in your training?
I have what I call, my folks will tell you, they better be able to tell you, I call it platforms. So the platforms are designed for 3 things: learning curve, improvement curve, disconnect or repair curve, whatever you want to call it. So based on the student coming in and where they're at, the experience, the platform, okay, here's an example of what I would use for a platform. Okay. So you're coming in, and let's just say the moment you come in, and this is I have to give credit to Tom Sotis. Okay, you come in, and then we move around, and I just kind of see where you're at, what end of the pool you should be in, shallow end or deep end. And by observing everything, your non-tail, your accuracy, your all this, as far as knife on knife, for instance. And this is just an example. So let's just say I saw a disconnect in your non-telegraphic strike. All right. Let's say you were pulling back like this and then you're going, but you weren't faking. It wasn't like I'm doing this to elicit a response. I mean, this was your strike. You know what I mean? So I want to establish that. So then I would pull in a platform and we would dial in on your non-tel. Now, while you're dialing that, I will have a role to work on too. So I use platforms. So now, can the platforms have an aspect of play? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's to be taking no stress. It's to be taken lighthearted. We're both trying to improve in something like that. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Platforms, huh? Okay. I'm trying to understand what that means, because I see a drill like Hubad Lubad, for example,
Which and then a platform,
right? I would say that's a platform.
It is. I have pulse in a platform. We thrust. So we're pulse-suiting, and anytime we interject a thrust, for instance, absolutely. Those, I have those. Those are, in my opinion, they could be construed as platforms.
So for me, why gamification, why playing games is important in a training environment is, especially when it comes to dealing with knife work. It's important that we characterize it as a game or gameplay. Number one, because we learn best that way. But also what I find that's either missing or severely mismanaged is the idea of energy exchanges and competition in 1 or 2 day knife seminars. Okay, so again, let me say that again. Pressure testing, quality controlling, and energy exchanges are either missing or severely mismanaged in a weekend knife course. I know you're a big fan of pressure testing, right? Yes?
With the empty against, I am. It's the way I was brought up through some of my instructors. However, though, I can absolutely see the validity in game. Remember, probably like 15 minutes ago, I mentioned how sometimes I take this too serious when I'm teaching, because I try and want to give the, that. However, though, I know that about myself. I know I could probably benefit from like there. So like one of the things I thought about was maybe, okay, we're going to spar of, 3 points. Let's make it fun, man. Whoever gets the 3 hits first, and maybe if I get it.
That's amazing.
Right. And I have to start doing that. And I am going to start doing that.
I'll tell you why it's important, right? Because I know that you believe in honest validation of skills. I know you believe in the progressive development of capabilities. And I know you really care deeply about improving your students. So here's what gameplay allows us to do. It allows us to infuse competition in a community collaborative way where everybody takes accountability for each other's safety. And in my seminars, I really make it a point at the very beginning to say, hey, we're going to compete with one another, but we're going to compete like brothers and sisters when we were young. We wanted to hurt them a little bit, but we never want to injure them. And at the end of the day, we're competing so that we can learn and we can test these one simple game would be like, look, these are your objectives and these are your constraints. I want you to put 2 hands on that person's wrist, okay? And you do not let go. And the other person, you try to break free. But get on your knees. You can't move. That could be one constraint. Or you can't use your free hand. You have to use body angling, right? And you have 5 seconds or 10 seconds to do it. So by playing these games and taking the context of knife away and just playing games, we can really actually measure and as instructors, observe how well the teachings that we taught were, right? So if we're teaching a small circle to release, a knife grip, if they go to that in that gameplay, then something stuck. I just think it's really, really important, because if you mismanage competition and if you mismanage people's energy, people get hurt. People get hurt, man.
It's environment. Yeah. And sort of mismanaging of stress, introducing stress inoculation where you do too much and then, or folks are actually shattered by it. You know what I mean? Like, I totally agree with you on the incorporation of that. And it's something, I'm going to start doing. I need to do more. I always taught, I kept LaTeX locally within Connecticut. And so I wasn't really worried about the lens of the community or outside of my immediate area. But as I started bringing it to the forefront last spring, things changed as far as, my teaching dynamics, my reach, my message, the indoctrination of the prison systems to look at, and the offshoot from there, not just offensively, but offensively to other weapons. And so there was a bunch of stuff that happened. And I think what I'm alluding to is, I think there's still, I'm in a catch-up period. I mean, it's been great, and the journey's been wonderful. The feedback's been wonderful. But I think there's where I haven't fully caught up into hey, I could add this. Hey, I could make this, improve this. I'm starting to catch up to that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now throw the show in there, throw the students in there, home life. You know what I mean?
Man, I've stepped into a seminar as an instructor, really not knowing what I was going to teach these guys. I knew what my starting point was going to be.
That's scary for me.
No, I mean, because look, the way I sort of teach, and this is where I'm going. This is the difficulty that I have, right? I want to be able to craft people to become instructors, but I don't have a checklist of you must know about this, and that. You must be able to execute this, and that. Because I believe in a finite, small set of principles, concepts, and tactics related to knife defense. But I love the variety in which we acquire those skills, the way we develop those skills, and the way we maintain those skills. And so I really don't know stepping into a seminar unless my client has said specifically, we need to cover this.
Well, you just certain thing. Right.
So my professional clients will give me specific, and sometimes they're very specific stuff. And I'm like, okay, we're going to deal with the specific stuff specifically, but trust me, you're not going to be able to create enough scenarios that will cover the entire spectrum of possibilities. So I'm going to teach you how to adapt, right? So I have some words here for you, okay? These are the concepts and principles related to knife defense. I'm gonna blast it out. I've actually, so I have broad and then I have specific. Okay. So the first broad stroke is recognition and awareness.
Okay.
Right. What does that mean to you, Dean?
So we're looking from the context of at the end gets knife.
Sure. Let's talk about knife defense for now. What is recognition and awareness?
Okay, so recognizing cues, are you on somebody's radar? Is somebody approaching you? How did this breach of gap? Being in tune to that. Was it questions? Was it? Obviously being attentive to somebody you don't know and why you're letting them to get that close. So to me, that falls under the umbrella of recognition. What are their hands doing? Are you watching their hands? Are they looking behind? All those signs of that something can pop off. Okay. Are you also in that recognition? Are you putting yourself in an advantageous position to react? In there.
Number two, these are again the broad strokes. Number one, recognition and awareness. Two, timing and distance management.
So time, distance, options, the triangle under me. So the more time I have, the more distance I have, the more time I have, the more time I have, the more options I have. The less distance I have, the less time, less options. So that's what I convey to my students. So I always tell them that you want to have that fair distance because that's going to give you more time to react or to then look at your options of egress. Are you cleaning for equalizer? Oh, you know what I mean? So that was basically how I addressed that.
And the third one is sensitivity. By the way, I'm not reading the complete thing that I wrote because I want to add something. So what does sensitivity mean?
So sensitive, in my opinion, there's a long range sensitivity, you reading body language signs, all that. You have to have some sensitivity to be able to be even include to that, as opposed to, the whole aspect of physical contact and that relation to sensitivity. So hands-on, of course, sensitivity, like, okay, let's example sewing machine. Okay, let's say for argument's sake, I do a barn catch, boom, right? That sensitivity, knowing when to transition maybe to the double catch, right? There would be the aspects of physical sensitivity. I'm losing it. Oh man, it's coming across me. Maybe I'm going to arm drag. Maybe I'm locking, all to me, that would be some of the examples of sensitivity as far as hands-on.
Right. Is there anything missing? Oh, we're not talk. I guess we can put moral, ethical, all that stuff. That's so.
Yeah, ethical, I think, is huge, man. Let's touch on ethical, okay? Because I put this on his post, and matter of fact, Iron Tree Dave, it was one of your posts. He goes, he's just kidding, and I knew you were just kidding, but it annoys me. It's one of my pet peeves, and I don't have many, but it really annoys me. It says, "Just run." You know what I mean? Well, okay, what if you've been physically compromised? You've had multiple knee surgeries or whatever the issue may be, and your 40-yard dash is pretty sad. Okay, well, here's the other thing. You can't run. You have an ethical obligation of loved ones. Like, that's never, spelled out. Just run. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's not valid. Of course, if I'm by myself, yeah, I'm going to look at any means to run. You know what I mean? But I think we need to go deeper into that answer.
Yeah, the people who write "just run," the thing about it is it's true. Yeah, just run, right?
Yeah,
but,
you can't argue. I totally agree with you. Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to teach you how to deploy your weapon in entangled positions. What do you mean, just run?
This is not the and turn your back, and now you're getting sewing machine in your spine, right?
I'm wanting to get back to these three things, right? Recognition and awareness. Pillar one. Timing and distance management for initial defenses. And then finally, sensitivity for entangled positions.
Entangled positions, right.
Right. So those three things they're such broad strokes that they cover everything relating to any sort of a knife defense situation, right? If I want to learn how to deal with an overhand caveman strike, right? Recognition and awareness. Timing and distance management for the initial defense, and then sensitivity once the fight is prolonged and
the tactile sensation, right?
Entangled. So sensitivity for entangled positions allow us to either stay in entangled positions and get tactically advantageous control positions, or disengage,
or when to bail, right? When you're becoming right. I mean, okay, let's look at here. There's something I'd like to ask you.
Sure.
I'm coming with sewing machine at you. What would early on time late be? What would that mean to you?
Early?
So in other words, there's a curse information. I'm going to come with sewing machine with you. We okay, but still there's a value into the exercise we're doing. What would early on time late mean to you?
Okay, first of all, I think there's a little bit of a fallacy when it comes to realism based on the context that you gave me, because we're in a training environment, so I know that the sewing machine is coming.
That's what I mean. Yeah, we agree. There's definitely there.
Okay, so just under a training platform, what would early mean?
The information is there.
For me, dealing with it early means preventing the index or a grab and initiating a preemptive strike.
Okay, but that's a different attack. I'm grabbing there. Let's just go with just sewing machine with no grab. I'm just coming up here, rear load, and I'm just boom, boom, boom.
Are you talking about early and late as far as my defensive response?
Response, correct.
So my early response, if I know you're coming with that, is I'm preventing the grab and I'm preempting striking or preempting it. Maybe I'm not understanding the question.
Leave the grab out for now. Okay, so let's just simplify it. This is I should have been a little more clear.
Yeah.
I'm going to attack you with sewing machine. But I'm not implementing the offhand. I'm not grabbing. I'm not doing a collar tie. I'm not grabbing your clothing. I'm coming at you with this trajectory right into your lower abdomen, right?
Okay.
Now, your physical response could be, so in the aspect of early on time late, in your opinion, what do you think that means? Your response with your hands.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about evasion or anything like that. Because
No,
I
you're
actually
defending.
talked about it earlier in another post. If a non-indexed, non-connected sewing machine stab,
Mm.
I don't really see that happen in real life.
It's just an example. I'm just trying
Okay.
to listen. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I'm still not.
If I come
clear.
early, let's say I see you going in, I come early and I put
I know
all
you
my
don't come early, Dean.
What's that?
Never mind. Oh, God.
Yes, I
Okay,
set myself up for that one, huh?
well, you don't come early, but anyway, go on.
So in other words, I throw my hands out there, right? I overreact. I see this thing coming at me, right? I'm susceptible to a redirect, right? A fake, because I came out early, potentially, right? Depending on, right? Again, this is just something just to talk about, whether regardless of if some machines like this or they're more like this, right? Okay, if I'm late, it potentially gets pushed into me, right? I'm late, right?
Yeah.
However, if I'm on time, that's all I was trying to elicit, is basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. And, there's also such a thing as being on time with an inappropriate response. And so, you can be on time and then there's a strength discrepancy and your defense collapses. There's a lot to cover.
It really is. And this is why, again, what I mentioned before, sometimes I take this too serious. And I need to, I'm in that catch-up mode to kind of lighten some things up where, I have some ideas of games, which you mentioned. One example, the 3 points that I mentioned. But yeah, but much to your point, the difficulty, not just the physical difficulty of dealing with it, but, the teaching. What are you trying to instill in your students? The value system, your honesty, the integrity, the moral compass, the legally defensible as far as, what you're doing out there. I mean, if you look at the whole aspect of this in its totality, is extremely difficult. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
As far as the whole moral ethical line thing, if we can get back to that for a second, you know how much time I spend talking about that?
What's that?
About moral and ethical lines. You know how much time I spend talking about that in a seminar?
How much?
Very little. I just bring it up because that's a personal thing. And I go, hey, look, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you about
No.
I'd never taken a life before. And I'm very clear. My knife defense seminars, my quote unquote knife fighting theory seminars, they are not use of force seminars. I always make it clear to my students that you are responsible for the execution and application of what I teach you, given the context and the legalities of where you live and the specific conditions in which they happen. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm going to teach you some skills, right? I take no responsibility. And this is why I also, I take no credit when something that I teach saves somebody's life. I really can't, because it's that person who did the work. Just as if somebody were to fail in the execution of something that I taught them, that's not on me. I can only ensure that the things that I teach are to some degree logically valid and have some provenance of use of useful execution.
Correct, but you covered that way in the beginning by being honest with your students right from the get-go of right. So you kind of covered. So in other words, I think there's the fault systems that get in place depending on how honestly you are with your students and there. And much to your point, that obviously is not going to be your fault if you gave them what it seems to be the best answer. obviously with nothing being taken for 100%. Back to the moral compass and legal defensible. My moral compass conversation is basically, more or less, I make the distinction between the community and in your home, just so they have some context as far as when I bring that up. It's something, it's not, I spend a lot of time on it in a group seminar. Absolutely not. The legally defensible aspect is, because that encompasses a lot. Okay, just know your laws. You know what I mean? Whatever your state is, you know what I mean? Like personally know your laws in that.
Right.
And that's about the extent of that conversation,
Hey, let's talk about telegraphic versus non-telegraphic in a training environment relating to knife defense.
To knife defense or knife dueling?
Knife defense.
Knife defense. Well, I could tell you from my experience with, when I look at non-telegraphic folks and one of the guys that I've trained with, pretty extensively, when we think of non-tel, Ray Floro, David Gould, right? These are guys are just they just give you nothing to work with. I mean, and so I haven't been in front of Ray Floro yet, but I've seen enough of his videos to know that he's pretty non-telegraphic, right? Fair enough. However, I've been in front of David Gould, and it's frightening. Sometimes there is no defense.
Well, I'll tell you something. They always have a telegraph, and for some reason, I know that they're about to hit me. You know how I know?
You might be better than me then.
Wait, hold on. Let me clarify. Let me clarify. We're in a training environment and we're sparring, right? Yeah. Do you think they're going to try to hit me?
In a training environment, or I'm sorry, sparring?
Oh, yeah, let's say I'm sparring with David Gould or Master Ray Floro.
Correct.
Right? We're in a training environment.
Yeah.
And then we decide to spar or duel.
Correct.
Okay. Do you think they're going to try to hit me?
Of course.
Of course. So I know their intention. Whether or not I see a physical tell is inconsequential. There's always I'm just kind of being semantical here.
I'm just telling you, Paul, this is where I got to disagree with you, man. When you're in front of those guys, man, you know they're going to hit you. You might not know the when, but I'm telling you.
And they're going to hit me. And I'll tell you something too. They're going to hit me.
Yeah.
But the telegraph is built into the context. Just like if I go into a boxing match.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway,
that's a tricky one. I mean, I'm not totally.
Look, well, I know they're not just going to stand there.
No. Obviously, you're going to get hit and there's going to be intention. The whole thing with non-telegraphic is that making you late, where you have nothing to react to or very little to react to. That is the whole aspect of being the benefit of being non-telegraphic.
I was being a little bit playful because really the conversation should be physical telegraphs. And I was talking about contextual telegraphs.
Yes. I told you I get a little too serious with this stuff. I told you. I got totally.
In a knife defense seminar, Mr. Franco, in a knife defense seminar, you teach your students when they're training to be non-telegraphic?
Not in a knife defense seminar?
Yeah.
No, I'm teaching them that generally speaking, their attacks are going to be big, they're going to be wide, they're going to be power, and they're not going to have this aspect of non-tel. My non-tel discussion or teaching is more in the knife dueling and all that. And I'm honest with my folks. Okay, yeah, the chance of you getting a knife on knife is probably so low. However, though, okay, my argument for knife dueling is the better we understand the offense, hopefully, leading to a better defense, and also it's just fun. Just
no argument there. I love, again, I observe knife dueling in the same way that I observe Hubad or Sabayan, right? It's a platform to develop skills, and it can be fun.
It's fun.
But I'll share something with you. In my seminars, I really emphasize this idea of when we're feeding our training partners and we're trying to learn in early stages or even in late stages of knife defense, it's important that we telegraph. And I even say we super telegraph, right? And why? Why do you
I'm sorry, can you
suppose?
just back up a bit? I'm sorry. Your context of intentionally telegraphing for knife defense?
Yes.
I do the same thing. So they have recognition. I mean, especially if they've never done this before. And I'm coming up here like this. I mean, yeah. So I give them recognition, but then I start taking away those tells slowly. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. Yes.
Yeah. And it's almost never taking it away, but diminishing or clouding their recognition that something's coming. And this is why it's important. It's why it's incredibly important. Because of if we telegraph our motion to do a low line attack, what that really is we're conditioning our training partner to identify a pre-attack indicator. So there are many pre-attack indicators, right? Behavioral,
Sure.
and physical, and they manifest in many ways. It's really important for us to have the correct mindset when doing certain drills, to recommit to the idea that a training knife is a real knife, and to telegraph our attacks, because that's how it actually happens in real life, right? So again, I was talking about conditional, contextual telegraph, and then the physical telegraph. In every single knife attack, a detached knife attack, it's telegraphed. There is a physical tell, aside from the recognition and awareness of behavioral cues that lead to the escalation of violence. So it doesn't make sense for me to teach my students, hey, have your knife out, but all of a sudden it just
Yeah, no,
really,
I can appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely, the attacks are going to be out there telegraphed as witnessed by all the videos we've seen. I mean, yeah, I definitely can appreciate that.
yeah. And so this is where, again, we're going to go back to the topic, right? Discussing the validity of instructors with no experience or with experience. So one instructor can say, hey, I've been stabbed and I didn't see it coming.
Right.
Okay. He didn't telegraph. And so that instructor will base the totality of their teachings based on the specific conditions of the real life event that they experienced. Whereas somebody who can kind of look at it from a bird's eye view might logically say, hey, look, I can show some empathy for the traumatic experience that you went through, and still say your specific experience does not represent the totality of experiences or what's even common experience.
Yes.
Right. And so there's that. I find that a lot of instructors who just rest upon their experience, who don't.
Well, that's all they have. I mean, there's a part that goes along with that because they didn't develop anything else, so they're relying on the laurels of their criminal past or whatever it may be. So yeah, I think that's I definitely agree. Versus the bird's eye view, we're looking at the totality of everything, pre-violence indicators, the engagement, what happened, what led to this, how did they get there, so yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Absolutely.
And because I deal a lot with not only law enforcement folks, but law enforcement folks who are responsible for either the modification or the creation of their department's defensive tactics program, right? I speak to these guys and we have these discussions about, look, sometimes bad things happen that produce good outcomes, but it doesn't mean the steps that we took to produce a good outcome should be what we teach others.
Should we teach? Yeah, luck or whatever it may be, or 100%.
And it just creates such a massive bias. Like if somebody was trying to attack me with a knife and I punch him in the face, I might have the tendency to base my entire knife defense program on preemptive striking, whereas because it saved my life,
correct
how I'm going to teach it. But while striking and preemptive striking can be an optimal solution, that's not going to be the best solution for somebody who's underweight, who's tiny, who have no prior striking experience.
Or or they already got the latchets in flight, and you're now trading a strike for a stab. I mean, and much your point, somebody of a smaller scale who's not going to have that impact. And here's a question for you. I get this. I make a very clear distinction in attacks versus ambush. In other words, when I look at ambush, I just want to get what your take on this. I just tell folks, pending the ambush and pending where that first shot, what it was it weaponized or an empty hand? You're, assuming you can get through that initial attack, regardless of what it is, and you can click in, great. But there's going to be times where if you don't, in other words, like somebody jumps out of a bush, hits my C artery there. Well, I guess I'm dying. I mean, you know what I mean? And so I guess, what's funny or I find amusing or interesting is that by virtue of being instructors, defense instructors, whatever we're teaching far as defense, that we're privy to solutions for ambush. You know what I mean? And so have you ever come across where, hey, Paulo, what would you do if,
Yeah, honestly, all the time. And my answer is nothing. Some problems don't have solutions.
There you go. It's like I get armbar, there's a point of no return. I get rear naked choke, there's a point of no return. I mean, I tell folks, our highest active military, Navy SEALs, whatever it may be, when they get ambushed, they die. So you're trying to tell us that we're not, you know what I mean?
I was asked a question one time, like, what if somebody hits you with a 2x4 behind the head as hard as they could and you didn't see it coming? I'm like, what the hell do you want? How do you want me to answer that?
That's what I mean.
My answer would be, okay, the parameters are impossible. They hit me with a 2x4.
That's nothing too. Look at the range of ambush. Okay, well, did I go around a corner and you were right there? Did you jump out of a tree? I mean, so in other words, just the whole open-ended aspect of ambush, but I just find it, I find it funny.
I also find it funny. And I know like sometimes we lack options on how to set up when we're making content about knife defense, but how many times have I seen, you bumped into me and we were just walking, we bumped into each other and then we fight, or some guy's just waiting around the corner or behind a tree and all of a sudden they attack you. That doesn't actually happen. I read a study that something along the lines of, I think it was a Caliber Press study. I'm not sure, but there's always there's almost always an escalation to it. It's never a straight up ambush like what an ambush actually is. And even if it's an ambush, it's not an ambush straight to a kill shot. If that were the case, that guy knew you. They were targeting you.
Right. There was some connection.
There was a confrontation. There was an argument. There was an escalation. Anyway,
it's just interesting. I just was curious if you ever ran into that and how you handle those questions, which is similar. Yeah, it's just like you just gotta be nothing. I guess
Nothing. No, what do you mean? There's nothing we can do about that.
I know. But you'd be surprised though. Like I had a couple of folks like look at me like, well, you don't have an answer. It's like, no, I don't. I'm not. I'm not a superhero.
Yeah.
But
also, there's also this distinction, right, between a knife threat, a knife attack, and quote unquote a knife ambush, right? And and when you first asked me about early, on time, late, that's where my head really.
But I think that can apply there as well. Absolutely. I was applying it just to an actual technique, but that can certainly, there's relevance to that. I mean, sure.
There's also this practice, and I'm sure you do this too, where we fight from behind the 8 ball, or another way to say it is we fight from a position of deficiency, meaning to
Yeah.
say I've already been stabbed 2 or 3 times, then
Yeah,
I
in the
got
back, and then you got just, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes I think about that stuff and I'm like, how useful is that? Because I think it's kind of useful. I think it's kind of important, but I don't think we can ever really do that kind of an exercise justice. You know?
No, but I think the mere fact that we're incorporating it and we're at least viewing the lens and we're at least giving to students and all that. Again, sometimes we do the best we can to replicate. You know what I mean? And begin that also with a high dose of honesty, right?
Yeah. Do you ever train knife defense from a scramble?
When you say scramble, let me see.
A scramble. Scramble meaning an unorthodox starting position that aims to replicate the potential of a real life event. For example, if I'm working on knife defense on the ground, I don't
Correct.
start from side control. I don't start from mount. I
Right.
start off with a really unorthodox position, like lying down perpendicular or beside each other, just fighting from a scramble position, getting to the knife from that point.
Both. So both, I will look at specific positions let's use it back to the ground. And 2, I'll put the knife in between us and go. Yeah.
Yeah. Fighting for the knife, fighting
both.
to the knife,
Mhm.
right? There's all sorts of, and again, for these kinds of things to really have meaning, we have to gamify it. We have to look at the combat sports.
That being a game for sure. And I mean, that would fall under what I would describe as a game. It was put in between us. Let's go. Yeah. So I guess maybe I was doing a game. It just didn't think about in that context, I guess.
Because I think when we hear the word gamification or gameplay or game, we think about Super Mario Brothers or hopscotch.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I think I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you play games. One way to play a game is just compartmentalizing or isolating a specific moment and making it about objectives. Did you win? Did you lose?
Yeah.
Was it pass? Did you fail? Yeah.
I gotta know. This came up the other day, and there's some relevance to this. And I spoke upon this in lieu of some of the troubles I was telling you about before we went live. In other words, if we look at what we're doing, like for instance, you could look at my system name, Blaytech. You could look at, Piper. Look at something else, right? In other words, I think credit should be given to those who took these tactics and they put them in a meaningful way for folks to digest this and replicate it in the system, the codification of it, maybe the sequence they did far as the levels or what have you, depending on what they did. I think they absolutely deserve credit for it. However, they are not the founders of the original tactics. And that is starting to bother me because you should get credit for putting it together. However, you were not the original founders. Now, there's some folks that are very honest about this and acknowledge this. The Medusa guys, 100%, myself, of course, but you got some folks out there that think they're a little more important than they really are. But again, they deserve credit for putting it together. And that. What's your take on that?
Nobody owns techniques, I don't really, even if somebody claims to have created a brand new technique, it's a derivative or a modification of an existing one. I think that it's natural for people to want to believe that they innovated or created something.
The founder.
Yeah. And it's really this whole it's a marketing, it's a branding thing, it's a codification thing. I do think though that if we allow for people to have some sense of ownership of intellectual property, of proprietary information, It's the method in which they teach. It's how they articulate certain concepts, the words that they use. What's that Medusa thing you talk about? Latch and shock and awe and all
Yeah,
that.
shock latch stab or shock latch hit, depending on the weapon you have. Yeah,
I really love the word latch. It's great.
I thought it was really neat too. Instead of
great.
clinch.
Oh, what is that? What do you mean latch?
Yeah,
I know what latch means.
I know. I thought it was clever too. I thought the pitch. I thought it was very clever the way they made it. Again, yeah, yeah. I agree with everything you said in that. It's and not that I'm undermining what they created or what they did. Like that would be me like saying Blade Tech. Oh, I'm the founder of Blade Tech and all its contents. Hell no. I'm the founder of the name and putting the things, compiling the things together in the way it is. But I don't own or was never the founder of any single technique or tactic in Blade Tech.
Right.
It's just an interesting dynamic out there.
There is a natural evolution between a specific kind of student and a specific kind of teacher that is going to predictably dissolve over time.
It's hanging themselves.
It's predictable because if you're the kind of student whose mandate isn't just to perpetuate or propagate the art or the system, then you are going to be the opposite of that, right? Like you are going to be somebody who explores and integrates and Bruce Lee-fy it and take some things and shed
JKD it, sure.
Right? And so when you begin to express that, and specifically in your case, when you begin to gain some traction, then you all of a sudden turn from student to competition, right?
Then that's a good point, and I think that's part of it because then there's now you put in the factor of the threatening factor. Oh my God, he's going to take away, market share.
Yeah, and I think that's natural. I don't
know. And I do have an aspect of empathy for that. I really do. But my empathy goes away when you're trying to weaponize that and then put down others. And because that's what you have to do as far as your means of becoming more relevant.
Right.
Or claiming you have the truest, version or what have you, then my empathy goes out the window, because now you're being a bully. Now it goes into bullying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've never really had to deal with that. Number one, because look, when certain people ask me for seminars, I'll tell them, hey, what do you need me for? Oh, you need wrestling-based solution? You probably shouldn't go to me. I suck at it. You should probably go to, to Gary Drake or to Aaron Giannetti or Raul Martinez, who can teach you the finer details of grappling-based solutions. I can show you the broad strokes, right? I'm going to be able to get you to a point by making it about you and the objectives that I've placed upon you in this particular drill. But if you want to attain this at a high level, I can't take you there. I can only take you so far. And also because I've documented my journey. People know that I've trained with a buttload of people.
Sure.
And so nobody gets to really claim me as their guy,
their student, what have you. But again, back to the honesty. I mean, again, I think that's the huge common denominator between us is that we're, what I mean? Like here you are, you're referencing other people that are really good in that area. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'm looking for, takedowns. I'm not going to, I'm going to definitely be referencing somebody else or referring somebody else, right? I mean, so I think it just goes back to our code of ethics and our honesty that, in my opinion, anyhow.
Yeah. And also it helps that, at least at this point, teaching something, this whole knife thing, isn't my primary, bread and butter, so to speak.
Thank God for me as well, man. It's, like I told folks, hey, what is Blade Tech to you? It's a freaking experiment. I gave birth to it, and I'll give death to it at some point. I mean, it's an experiment. You know what I mean? It's an experiment, and it's been an enjoyable one, having great folks in there, because I screen. I have a private group. If I wanted public, I would make it like FMA Discussion. The fact I have, it's a very intimate group. But yeah, thank God I don't rely on it for financial reasons. It's more the creation. I like creating. It's more working together with folks, improving myself and them as well, all together.
You know what I'm working on, Dean, right now is I'm working on how to certify instructors are under me. I'm finding a very, very difficult process because because again, I use a variety of training methods and drills and platforms to teach a finite set of skills and
Can I ask you a question that might help?
Sure.
What is your metric to gauge your students based on them basically digesting and functionalizing your material? What's your metric system?
So even to answer that question, I'm going to have to go broad, right? So okay, I've made a list, right, of skill sets.
Okay.
Again, going back to a previous topic of conversation where we talked about recognition and awareness, timing and distance management for initial defenses, and then sensitivity for entangled positions, right? So within that, there are specifics, right? There's interceptions, there's blocks, there's parries, there's redirections, there's traps.
Yeah.
And then if a trap is prolonged, it becomes a control. If that's prolonged and under a specific context, that control becomes a submission. Then there's disengagement, there's weapon access, there's counteroffensive skill sets. So I might go to a student of mine and my metric might be, teach me the skill of, I might go, teach me timing and distance management for initial defenses using parries. And they're going to have to come up with their own unique way to be able to teach that, or at least to be able to intelligently articulate and pass on. So it's not super specific and codified at this point. It is really.
Let's back up. You mentioned instructor certification. So let's back up. Are you going to have any levels before that, or are they going to go from student, which I'm not saying this is bad, good, or indifferent. Are they going to go from student to instructor, or are there going to be some levels in between?
No. So my idea is that the instructor ranks will be a range. So you could be instructor level 1.
Gotcha.
And that could be, I can teach.
I could teach you the preemptive strike, whatever, right?
Something like that. That's my idea. That's my idea.
And again, I'm not saying you need to have intermittent levels between student and instructor. I choose to do so, but that doesn't mean that's the best way. Based on what you've shared with me thus far, and based on you're looking at different levels of instructors, and based on you're looking at those broad strokes, and under those broad strokes, they would need to basically showcase to you under those broad strokes, and then there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So let's go back to you were talking about recognition, and what was it as far as what they could do? Yeah. Recognition, what?
Recognition and awareness.
Okay. So all right. So let's look at that. So maybe, and I'm just throwing this out there. So maybe your first level instructor he's got that module. Like he's showed you parries, he's showed you blocks, he showed you simultaneous block and hit, maybe whatever you got under there, but he was able to demonstrate to you not only he can convey the information, but he has a good handle on the information, right? For instance, that could be one way of looking at it. There's your metric. Maybe instructor level 2 is where it's a few modules, because if you're not going to have anything between, your instructors are going to have to really, which I don't think is bad. They're going to have to be able to present a module, correct?
Well, a lot of the people I teach are a lot of them are way more experienced and knowledgeable than I am. So what I actually present is an actual methodology
Or a
rather
way
than
of doing things. Okay.
that's right.
Um,
So somebody who may have a lot of experience as a defensive tactics
mhm.
instructor can certify under me, um, because this is the process in which I teach, and I want you to be able to um, not emulate, but represent this process in your own specific way to your own specific clientele. Right now, I'll give you. It's really important for me to teach, as Robert Small here, to teach how to teach, right?
Yeah.
Because what's the biggest problem in traditional martial arts, as far as I'm concerned, is that the regurgitation of
Re-
concepts, right?
Correct. Right.
Without actually understanding it. And the best way to demonstrate that you actually understand a concept deeply is your ability to impart that knowledge to somebody else. So
100%.
I have a kids class. It's massive. Sometimes it's like freaking 30 kids, right? I recently leveled up 4 kids to to my level 1 colleague kids class.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
for
Okay.
the past couple of, I would say, couple of months,
Yeah.
I've been giving them responsibility. I show up to class and I go, level 1, set up pylons, 5
Absolutely.
exercises, right? 5 exercises. I want you to stop at, you have 20 minutes to do it. And there's 4 of them or 5 of them. And they're like, and I don't give any more instruction than that, eh? So there's actually a moment in time where there are other kids waiting. And then my level 1 students are like, okay, who wants to do burpees, who wants to
Mm.
do triangle footwork, who wants to do um and l- it was actually just last uh yeah oh yes no last week, I got my level 1s to teach 4 other students the requirements for level 1, and then I tested them on the spot.
That's
They didn't,
awesome.
right?
But
And so
here,
it's and I want that
for your
model
adults, here's how you
for my,
link that. So here's a suggestion based on the feedback you're giving me and based on your kids class and what you said prior to your kids class. Okay. So let's just say you had this guy and whoever your student that you feel at in a short amount of time is ready to be, let's say, level 1 instructor. Okay. So, irregardless if he knows more than you, has been in field more than you, irregardless. Okay. Let's say, for instance, let's go back to the recognition aspect, right? And so, let's say you tell him, okay, I want you, you understand this, you've seen what I do in relation to this. I want you basically to create your own material in this where there's definitely resemblance, could be some carryover. That's okay, right? But I want it to be unique to you, but yet I can look at it and I can see the influence from what there. That could be an aspect of what to do, right?
yeah. And I also like to do things like, okay, I'm going to show you this pattern choreographed drill that's
Mm.
completely dead, no footwork, and I want you to transform it so that we develop XYZ skills.
Or something out of it. Like, yeah. I mean,
I I, I do
yeah.
this also, like whenever I travel, somebody would show me a drill from their system, and I would go, okay, this is how you make this drill alive, and this is the actual moment in this drill where you can develop sensitivity, you can develop
Mm.
specific things. Yeah. So for me, I really don't know how I'm going
But
to.
you know what, though? You're going to figure it out. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you why you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because the moment you really want, you feel there's somebody that is recognizable, that is deserving of a rank, you are going to click in, dial in, and you're going to figure it out. You will. You will, because we all had to. I like when I came out of Blade Tech, I wrestled with this. Okay, am I going to have levels? or and one day I'm just going to hand them a piece of paper and said, hey, you're good to go. You can teach whatever the hell you want and do whatever you want. I mean, but you will, based on your methodology and based on your value, what you value, you will find the answer and create something. You will, and it'll mirror you.
Yeah, and hopefully not too much of actually me. I really hope that.
Yeah, but it's going to mirror you somewhat because you're the ones behind it. It's going to be inevitable, Paulo, and that's okay. There's going to be some of that there. Like, you obviously have a decent aspect of who I am. So it's no shock to you, probably, that I have levels because of how I work and all that. Okay. Yeah. But you have a creative mind. You look outside the box. I mean, like, it will come to you and it will be a reflection of you. It will be.
I got a request, or not a request, because sometimes I don't follow up with my grand ideas. Okay. So you are instructor certified in a number of systems, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that means you can level up people in X system, Y system, D system.
I can level up people in Piper, Medusa, under Burton's programs.
Hey, you can level up people in Medusa already?
Yeah, it's a tactical platform. Talk to Brian. Medusa is not, again, I don't even construe it as a system. It's a tactical platform. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not, yes. It's made to be hands-on immediately. It's reverse engineered from an attack system based, looking at it from a self-defense aspect now and there. But yes, it's actually genius in a way. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to.
Don't put it down without looking at it. Don't do that.
No, I'm not putting it down. Not at all. Not at all. This is. What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Because it's codified.
Absolutely. It's codified in the sense that they took tactics, they put it together, and they put it in a sequential manner. Absolutely. There is a codification to it.
Right. But what defines tactics?
Tactic is so what is the difference between technique and tactic? All right. So tactic is I am going to stab you. The technique could be a slash or a thrust. I'm going to fake and stab you. The tactic is what? I'm thinking about the intent, right?
What defines what makes a tactic relevant or appropriate?
That's a personal thing. I think I have my favorite tactics. I think that's personal, depending on who you are and what you value as far as material. I think that's subjective.
What do you suppose this means? I'm going to quote one of my friends who can be a little abrasive sometimes, but he says, you don't bring your favorite numbers to a math test.
No, nor do I bring my favorite tactics to whatever, God forbid. Yeah, I mean, what's going to come out is going to come out, but that doesn't mean I still can't have ones I prefer. So knowing that might be the one that is going to come out pending the situation, right?
Okay. Context dictates tactics, right?
I think that context is a methodology. Yeah. I mean, again, there's the Tom Sodas that's coming out of me. Yeah. I'm bleeding,
Context dictates tactics. But anyway.
Dictates everything. Just make an umbrella statement.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, context does dictate.
I mean, think about it, right? I mean,
well, no, context doesn't dictate technique.
No, not technique. Correct. Tactic. Yeah. Yes. Correct.
Okay, so here's my question. If, let's just say, I wanted to get a rank from you.
Yes.
Right? I want to get a piece of paper with signature on it.
Yes.
And some logos, and which one, and I only want one. Which one would you recommend for me that I train under you to achieve just the? And this doesn't mean I'm going to continue, right? I just want the level one.
Mm-hmm. I would.
Which one would it be for me, based on what you know about me and what you know about you?
Based on what I know about you and based on what I know about me, and it's not very. We have to invest a lot of time based on your schedule and all that. I would say Medusa, because you know why? Because you're creative and you could create different things. Like one of the things I've I take Medusa. Okay, all right, okay. Shock, latch, boom, boom, boom. Distract, latch, there. So I've gone and tried related different things from Piper, for instance, to that. But the point I'm making is there's allowance for creativity as long as it's not looking like Taekwondo. I think you would be able, based on the way your mind works, you might be able to enhance some stuff in Medusa and grow it and maybe in that. So if I had to make a decision right now, I would suggest Medusa.
I do like their patch and their logo very much.
Oh yes, and that's kind of neat too, right? You get through the paper's cool, right? I mean, but I thought it was unique in what they did with this, right? I mean, 1823, number 18 in the year 23.
Wow, it's very cool. No, I like it.
And you know what? Awesome guys in Medusa. Awesome freaking guys. Jason Schultz, Mike Raymond, his son Seth, Brian Kanata, Joe Hunkar. There are some phenomenal, just good, down-to-earth people in there.
I like it. Okay, maybe. That sounds really intriguing. It sounds to me like Medusa is like a template.
Yes, that you can call it template, tactical platform, all the above, I think. Absolutely. That's made to be expanded on, as long as, again, it doesn't start to look like something that we've never can't.
Well, the thing with template is that it really, you need to fill it in, right? Like you need to fill it in. That's what a template is.
And it already has. What they initially came out with, there was only 3 shocks. That's already gone up to 5, maybe even more now since
shocks or strikes,
right? Shocks. And then there's 4 latches and 3 zones, 6 stabs. So I mean, it's going to evolve. But that was the whole. I think that was kind of their lens. Like, let's get something out where folks can appreciate, knowing that this is definitely going to evolve. I mean, and Mike Raymond and the son are definitely they got some stuff in the works,
Well, this is like the natural evolution, I think, of any sort of a combatives reality-based kind of knife system. Is that, for example, when you said, "Oh, there's like 6 shocks," and I'm like, "Okay, shocks are strikes, right? Like there's strikes that are."
You got 5 shocks and 6 stabs. Yeah. Assuming you're using the knife. However, though, it's involved to other weapons. Where the zones, in other words, there's 3 zones. So if I'm using a blunt weapon, generally speaking, my targeting is going to be zone 1. However, if there's the knife, then the 3 zones.
Yeah, and then latches are a way to attach or entangle ourselves in a tactically
absolutely, yeah.
Right. So, and it's going to keep expanding. I'll tell you, if Medusa lives forever and it continues this trajectory, it's going to be Filipino martial arts, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Muay Thai.
That's what they wanted to get away from. No. Yeah, that's what they want. That's what they wanted to get. Absolutely
right. Here's the thing, man, and I've had this conversation, right? People take source material, and what they do with source material is they boil it down to what they feel is the most effective, the most relevant. Right. So you understand that, for example, Pikiti Tertia might be a source material for PSYOC. might be a sort. It could be source. I'm not saying it's the only one,
Right.
right? It could be source material for Libre. I'm not saying it's the only one,
Gotcha.
but typically how this all plays out is there is a distillation of source material and then because when you distill something, when you make something a reductionist kind of approach, then it's easier to codify that.
Yeah.
Okay. But what ends up happening inevitably is that reduction or that distillation followed by codification. At some point, there is going to be a need, a desire, or a want for expansion.
I think their idea of expansion is going to be in different things. I'm not at liberty to say right now just because their integrity there, but it's nothing of like, we never seen this before, nothing like that. And I don't, but they're definitely going to expand, but they also want to realize that the reason why they've done what they've done to this point is to get the stay removed from those wheelhouses there.
Sure.
And so I think based on what I know of them and my interaction with them, I think it's fair to say they're going to stay true to these intentions. And the reason being is because they've done all the other stuff already before. They've done combatives. They've done FMA. They've done.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised. And what they're doing is a distillation of the things that they find most useful, and then they're codifying that. That's how it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what everybody does, right?
Which is what they've done. They grabbed some stuff, they put it together, codified it, and again, I think it's a different approach, a different look, and again, great guys behind it.
Yeah.
I always look at when I look at a system, I look at who are the instructors, and I use that as far as a metric system to say, okay, do I want to be part of this? If I look at the guys and I'm like, no, but the guys I have in there are stand-up guys, in my opinion, just good guys. Brian Canada, Joe Hungar, Jason Schultz, good guys, absolutely.
Brian and Joel are good guys.
Brian Canada.
I don't like those guys.
Well, Brian Canada, the whole the Bowie knife. No, just kidding. He's fine.
Yeah, nice guys. Nice guys, very good guys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe let's do it. Don't take it easy on me. Uphold the standard of the system and make sure I can. Really
my God, again, if something you want to do, you let me know. It's not here's the thing, it's not a long study, and the more background you got, the easier it is. It really is. Yeah, this is not a long study by no stretch. Yeah.
No, I like it. Let's do it, man. Do I need to give like an ounce of my blood and pledge allegiance to a secret dark cabal?
At the end, before you get the patch, okay, you have to send your blood. So we put your blood on the patch. So
okay. Do I got to kill anybody to do it? No.
You're gonna have to do that. So you got to send in a vial. You got to box it up so it doesn't. You know what I mean?
I think I'm ready. No, and hey, please send my regards to the guys, and not to take my interpretation of these things of a disrespect. And I think if they're logical and they're good guys, they'll see the truth, and sort of this is just the natural course of things, And I think that the more people that do this, the better it is for everybody. And if all it ever does is provide some kind of variety to the landscape of knife training, where people can be with good people and have a way that's guided with a template or a code to explore universal concepts. Full support, man. Like really full support. Right? It's really
cool. To me, it's just refreshing on a number of, for a number of levels and reasons. One, the folks that were behind it, after talking to them, they've been really supportive of me in a few things. You're going to see some definitely working together. They're just, all around good people, and that stay out of the drama and the politics and that. And there's no bullies in the system, which is, so very happy the decision that, I made. You don't see them. Here's a another pet peeve. When folks go and they, so in other words, their Facebook handle, I told my students this: you ever put Blade Tech in your handle, I will immediately remove you. Have you lost your individuality? Like, don't ever do that. But you'll see folks like, whatever,
Right.
get creative here. Venom 55, Connecticut. I mean, it's just like, yeah. And I don't see any Medusa's guys put like, doing that on Facebook. Mike Raymond does it just for folks to know that, there's a, for how to get a hold of them on Instagram, but nobody doing that like on Facebook or anything like that. You see some guys in other quote unquote prison systems doing that. And
has anyone tattooed the Medusa logo on them? I think, did Joel do it?
Not that I'm aware of. It could be. I'm not that just I'm aware of. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about that logo is that it's a cool tattoo no matter what, even if.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, right. If you were to do tattoos, I mean, that would be a cool tattoo. Yeah.
Joel tattooed the Medusa logo on him. Right.
Oh, okay. So Joel did. Okay.
He did tattoo Medusa logo.
All right.
That's awesome, man. But so, I mean, honestly, right now, I'm so engulfed by the study of source material, not just Bikini Tertia, right? Like, I'm studying source material from a lot. And it's, I was interviewing Tuhan or Grand Tuhan, Jared Wihongi, talking about how do some people teach Bikini Tertia wrong, or do they teach Bikini Tertia inappropriately to law enforcement or military? He was very diplomatic, but the way in which he actually characterized it is that the source material is so huge, it's so massive, that if you're going to become an instructor, you need to specialize and interpret based on who you're teaching it. So it can still be Bikini Tertia taught appropriately to law enforcement, but Bikini Tertia Kali has double sticks in a wally, and if I'm teaching PTK to cops, maybe that's not what we do. Maybe we don't do double stick.
Yeah, right. Or the whole 64 ways of attacks, or all.
Man, bro, the 64 attacks is beautiful. Oh my God, it's taken me so deep. I think people make too much out of it, just like they make much of kata. It teaches you this, it teaches you that. I'm like, nah. I just find it a great artistic challenge. It's a way for me to all concepts from the catalog of Bikini Tertia in a way that's codified. It's fine with me.
Again, if it's something that gratifies you and you get something out of it, like, who the hell to say?
Oh, let me ask you guys in the comment section, and my buddy Dean Franco, what do you guys make of reverse grip, edge in grip?
I'm used to out just by virtue what I was taught in Piper, but that doesn't mean anything. Certainly there's got to be stuff there that is absolutely useful when hooking or getting the edge on something, on somebody's arm, or depending article of clothing. Certainly slashing from that there with the edge or in, but in maybe coming back. I don't know. That's something I haven't really I've always kind of preferred edge out, based on the reasons I just mentioned. However, though, to be quite honest with you, I haven't really looked at a lot of stuff with going edge in. There's my answer.
Yeah. We should argue. I want to argue about it.
We should do another podcast arguing with
argue,
edge
which is
in, edge out.
Anyway.
Now, Medusa has edge in, edge out, edge out, edge in. The 4 grips, right?
They have edge in the forward grip.
4 grips: edge in, edge out, reverse grip, edge in, edge out.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can argue about the next time. We can argue about the.
Yeah, we're way out in the weeds now, Dean. Well, look, maybe we should wrap it up. Thanks for doing this with me.
No, thank you for one, making it easy for bringing me on. I appreciate that. Yeah, always enjoyable to spend time with you and talk to you. And again, I want to make a public recognition to you. I think we need this more in the community. Congrats on your recent success since you've been teaching. It'd be nice, you know what I mean? More power to you, and yeah.
Yes. No, thank you very much. Yeah. Since I started teaching at the late half of last year, and I made it known, requests are coming in. Well, it's a headache, man. It's a headache too. So it's a headache.
I mean, for me, sometimes it gets overwhelming, and just based on private.
Some people make it easy. Some people make it easy, and then
yeah, absolutely. Like anything else, some people can navigate and go through the waters and deal with it like second to nothing. Yeah, but it can get overwhelming. Sure.
Yeah, it's a headache for me because I'm not like the most organized. I'm kind of like, okay, look, let's commit. Okay, I'll see you on that date. And then it can sometimes be a mental drain. But when I'm actually there and I'm teaching, like, I love that.
Yeah, then all that goes away because you're there. You're in the moment. You know what I mean? You need to. Yeah, 100%. But no, I think it's great what you're doing, and yeah, if you're helping folks and they're enjoying the content, man. I mean, again, I think congrats on that.
Thanks, Dean. You too. Congratulations. Are you going to be traveling around doing more seminars then?
I mean, I just don't list them because I try to keep. I'm trying to not be on social media as much anymore, just because of the toxic atmosphere. But yeah, so where's my? Okay, so
where are you going?
April's kind of busy. New Hampshire, New York, Buffalo, and then May, Rhode Island. June, Atlanta, and there might be another.
Rhode Island.
What's that?
Who's hosting you in Rhode Island?
We're doing it's a Muck guys. Me, John Kupis, and there, and let me see, California, July, Maryland, August, and a couple potential ones. Most, I mean, but I tell you, I think I might have told you, I don't travel well.
I know you don't.
I don't travel well, and so I'm not one of those guys. Oh man, I want to no, not really.
Well, I'm doing a seminar April 27th in Germany. I arrived there on the 26th after like a 12-hour journey.
And then you gotta that would be stress to me.
Let's check this out. I arrive in Germany on the 26th.
Yeah.
I teach the next day.
Okay.
And then I leave the next day to go to Italy.
See, that's just way. And here's another thing too.
It's terrible.
When I'm away from the family, I get that guilt. She's doing everything. I'm away. She's good. I do. It's a mess. I just don't travel well.
I feel you. You're a good guy. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the work that you do at FMA Discussion. I hope you cope, or I hope you you learn and that you have better coping mechanisms for all of the negativity that inevitably comes with somebody who is successful and happy doing what they do. Right?
Jeez,
You're doing
me,
so much right, man. And again, you're doing a great service to the Filipino martial arts. Yeah, don't let the haters get you down. I warned you from the very beginning.
You did. And matter of fact, I was just saying that to somebody, like, hey, Dean, you're naive. Things are there. People are going to attach themselves, or they're going to start to try to pull you down. And I tell you, man, 100%.
Yeah, I've kind of done this for a while in, kind of counseling people who make the decision to go out
I'm
into
telling you. And when it first happens, it's like, wow.
But hey, don't lose yourself in that. Like, you're a nice guy. You're very diplomatic. Don't lose who you are. Don't become something that you're not. People fell in love with your style for a reason, and just keep doing that. Keep doing that.
Yeah, I don't know another way. So I mean, and thank you for the years of support, and obviously you were huge at a part of the growth of us and all that. So
I just saw what you could do for FMA, and I'm like, whatever I can do to support Mr. Dean Franco. Hey, you and Brian did that raffle for a Filipino Grandmaster. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, raised some good money for the folks. Yeah.
But you know what, Dean? With that, set your boundaries, okay? Because you do something like that once, people are going to come to you for that stuff again. And if no is no, do not feel any guilt about it,
Yeah, it's already happened, actually.
Yeah, I figured. I'm kind of an oracle when it comes to.
I know it's already. Matter of fact, it's already happened. Like it's already happened, and yeah.
Don't be guilted into doing things beyond your capability and your intention, because that's just the nature of things. When you do something good, people are, you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile. So don't feel bad about that. Just keep doing it at your own pace.
Getting better at it. Getting better at saying no, and
yeah. And when Tracy tells you to lay off and just like stop doing that, you got to listen to her, man.
I know. I do have this. I do. It's so true. I don't listen to her enough.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
This is not your burden to carry, and just keep having fun with it, brother.
Yeah. Okay? Right. I do say that as well. Yeah.
All right, Dean.
Hey, again, always a pleasure. Appreciate it. And thank you so much.
All right. Anything you want to push? Go subscribe to FMA Discussion. Is there anything?
Well, just on subscribe on the channel. The more subscribers we get, the more views we get, the more money we get to donate. So
let's do that. Like, why don't we all right now just go ahead? If you haven't already subscribed to FMA Discussion on Instagram, just do that. Do that for us right now. Subscribe to FMA Discussion on Facebook.
YouTube. YouTube.
Oh, sorry, on YouTube. Hey, does FMA Discussion have an Instagram account?
No.
Man, you should really do that and like just post clips. There's no, I'm not going to give you more work to do.
Because that's come up before, and I'm like, okay, I'll put shorts on there. Then I'm thinking like another thing to like.
It's work, but maybe remember when you had all those admins and that didn't really work out too well. Maybe you can try that again.
I'm trying to get like one person. I know. Yeah.
Well,
right.
Dude, again, like, look. That first set of the whole admin thing, maybe that didn't work out. It doesn't mean having admin.
Doesn't mean no, absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So if anybody out there is willing to watch an FMA discussion, which I'm not, I can't watch that show unless it's live. Not even me.
Right.
If you're willing to sit through an interview and just like crop out 2 minutes to 5 minutes and maybe start an FMA Discussion Instagram account. Let Dean know that you're willing to do that.
Yes, I would be most grateful.
Because you do not need any more work, Dean.
Oh my God, I couldn't.
You are overloaded.
Yeah, I would be. Divorce court or something like that.
All right, Dean. I'll let you go, brother. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Pleasure.
Peace.
Bye.
Cool. That was it. Yeah, man, that would be great because man, there's so much good stuff that comes out of FMA discussion podcasts, but I can't sit through like 2, 3, sometimes longer hours of that. But all of the masters and grandmasters that Dean have put on there have said and shared so many great things. It would be nice if somebody out there was willing, and I can teach you how to do it. It takes 2 seconds. Even if you have QuickTime Player on your desktop, you can just play it, hit trim, set the bars, and boom, and then send it over to Dean. And then all he has to do would be to upload it. That would be great. That would be really, really awesome. And look, it's a service to the masters and the grandmasters of Filipino martial arts. It just gives us another point of access to their beautiful minds without having to, sit through an entire episode, right? You guys know if you watch FMA discussion, there's a lot of good stuff that's being shared out there. So yeah, man, there's some let me just blast through the comments here and acknowledge you guys. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys don't already follow me on Instagram at GN_Funker Tactical, if you could do that as well for me, that would be really cool. There's some really messy, like algorithmic stuff. Sometimes I just experience a great growth, and then other times it's like, whoa, I thought that was a great post. It's not being shared. So yeah, I'm just gonna chill and ease out. I'm gonna slip out very gently by going through these comments. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you guys, some for the first time and others again as I travel and do these seminars. Many relevance versus, did I ignore this one? Relevance versus perspective, biggest takeaway. Fantastic. Iron Tree, Kali. Shout out to the Harm Farm, to Marshall Blade Concepts. Spot on. It can't transfer. It's all a narrative. This happened. This was my end of it. Nothing is the same twice. Bingo, bango, my friend. Robert Small, who looks like Crocodile Dundee in his profile picture with 2 sticks. What's up? Experience is great, but does instructor have a teaching process? What's my teaching process? I don't have one. I suck at teaching. Hey, gentlemen from Orlando. What's up, Chris? I will be in Orlando with my homeboy, Eric Gianni. When is that? June 27th. Hope to see you there, man. Hope you can support and bring some of your students out to learn some things. I'm going to make an announcement right now. Please don't nobody steal this announcement, okay? Because it's not really been announced. But what I'm going to begin calling my seminar series is the counter. I think it's up. Just chill. Here's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it Counter Offensive Knife Seminar, or COX for short. I'm going to call it my COX seminar. COX series. And so look forward to some great posters. There will be short COX, longer COX, in-depth COX. There will be COX for we might even have black COX, that would be the tactical side. Yeah, I might even do a curved COX series where we work on karambit. So look forward to seeing my COX in your area. And as you can tell, I'm a really serious instructor, eh? Okay, here we go. Back to these comments. Let me know what you think about these COX idea. I love it. I'm sure Kurt Leffler would love it. He's into rubber COX. If this is even going on the internet, this is completely going to be just demonetized and removed. Okay, Scott Baird. I've had experience in 2-bladed engagements and a few encounters, and I don't know if I know how to teach it any better than anyone else, to be honest. Not sure you can be in enough real situations to have it teach you enough. My 2 cents. Were you drinking at the time? So I think about this, right? Like, like, what if I get stabbed when I'm drunk? Would I be so short-sighted as to teach my seminars that begins with everybody getting drunk? It actually doesn't sound like such a bad idea, does it? We need to get some safety protocols in place. Anyway, there goes my brain off thinking about other stuff. Also, those who may have been in a violent situation may not be capable of teaching it because they are traumatized to a point that they are ineffective. Their experiences don't relate to soccer moms, and they are teaching from a point of fear. Yes, man. Mr. Marcus Miranda, my man. Is his finger in the trigger there? I'm just joking. He's a firearms instructor and a Marine, former Marine. Just kidding. Once, always, I suppose. What does it mean to have no experience? So philosophical. Hey, Marcus, how come you don't post any more videos of you doing sous vide? I miss them. Cook more. Make more cooking videos. I miss your cooking videos. Robert Small, can't see comments. Oh, yes, obligatory rubber chicken salute from yours truly. Uwe Kramer, hi from Germany. Hello, hope to see you in Germany. I'll be teaching in Essen with homeboy Michael Ruppel, April 27th. Hope to see you there. I'm really looking forward to Germany. I've never been to Germany. I want to eat all the schnitzel and drink all the beer and see all the architecture and the history. I want to go to a club in Berlin, if possible. What am I doing? Okay, anyway. Hello from Australia. That's another place I want to hit up, man. I want to go to Australia. I want to catch a mud crab and then eat it. And I want to go fishing in Australia. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm really learning this whole knife thing just so I can travel the world. It's just one great big excuse to continue to travel the world. There you go. Dean Franco, I appreciate your constant push for improvement and refinement. You are a great coach. That's YOU apostrophe RE. I'm such a dick. I'm sorry, Eric. I don't mean it. But you have an apostrophe in O'Brien, Learn how to use it. Just kidding. I try to have fun, but spar intensely. Yes. I mean, but you have fun in sparring too. I've seen you spar, brother. You look like you're having so much fun in sparring. I cannot wait to spar with you in that way. See how many times you tag me in the face. Probably going to be a lot. Kurt Leffler, the why is unique and different from person to person and also changes over time. So that's an important point. Judging another person's why compared to yours is unfair and unhealthy. Yeah. Yes. Raymond Floro, sparring is the way. This is the way. Scenario training needs to be done properly. Yes. Or else it just ends up looking like a bad porn movie. It is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Micro scenario training is good. Or just even like if there's a lesser degree of micro scenario, that might be good. But yeah, there's a particular knife combatives and just combative system out there. God bless. That is just goes way overboard with that stuff. Yeah. Spar against a child with no experience and does not know how to quit. What are you trying to get me to do? Trying to get me in trouble, Marcus? What do you mean spar against a child with no experience? I would smash that person. I would smash them. I do have a kids class though. I can beat up everybody in my kids class. I am the best, strongest person in that class. Except for my daughter, and my son. They're pretty good. I'm just kidding. I use a lot of isolation sparring to try and perfect a certain technique and its concept. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Super important. Yeah. Isolation sparring, compartmentalized sparring, constraint-based sparring, like we're going to spar, but you can't leave this box, and we're going to spar, but you can only use angle ones and roof blocks, and I'll try to, yeah, super duper important. And that's gamification. You know, when we have different metrics for success, we're not so overwhelmed with the need to win, you know, because we have different metrics for success. We can both win. Michael, I wanted to get to this, Mr. Michael Brewer. I teach edged weapons in both realistic and highly unrealistic scenarios. Amen. Very good. Just that alone, huge. That speaks so much to me. I teach edged weapons in both realistic and highly unrealistic scenarios. Yes. There's a self-protection aspect based heavily in what I've experienced and studied. There's also an artistic and historical side that's based in all manner of combative arts that simply don't apply as is to modern life. Like long swords and double knife versus sword and dagger, I find immense value in all of that material, even if it's nothing more than feeding my own joy in training. In fact, that gets more and more something. Yeah. So, yeah. I talk about this, the direct or indirect transferability. You know, when we talk about like sword and dagger, something that I got from, you know, Tuhan Jared is one way that we can look at, you know, sword and dagger, baston y daga, espada y daga, doing this kind of nonsense fun, is that it's not nonsense at all. One way that we can one lens that we can observe this from is how to dual wield coordinating weapons of different characteristics, right? And the difference in characteristic here is, you know, it's in length and composition, but it could be characteristic. This could be a flexible weapon. This could be a ballistic weapon. This could be a pepper spray and taser. So it's just one way in a generalized manner to work two weapons with different characteristics. Concept of who learns the most in the exchange between teachers and students? The teacher, right? I don't know about that. I learned something from my students, but I'm not sure that I learned more from them than they learn out of me. I mean, it sounds kind of cool to say that. Makes me seem like a white belt forever and all that stuff. But if I'm going to take this question at face value, who learns the most in the exchange between teachers and students? Should be the students. All you need is a gun and situational. I'm not sure if you're joking. There's enough truth in that. GN, the best. Thank you. I am the best at everything, ever. Rotation between students and teachers should be treated as opportunities for learning and opportunities to ask questions and to give your answers. Yeah. I'm a martial arts instructor, not a lawyer. The best defense for non-tell is distance. Yeah. The trick is that I set you up for the non-tell so you can't react. Train right and left-handed techniques to find chinks in their armor, where their answers are inadequate, and so then the teacher can improve their ability to select the right strike or block. Yeah. Non-tell in unarmed knife defense is disguising when you come in. Enough truth in that. Telegraphing to me is fainting. Not sure about that one. Maybe I just don't understand. What about teachers who say a certain technique is one way this week and next week it is different than what he told you 5 weeks ago and so on? Is this normal? What about teachers who say a certain technique is one way this week and next week it is different than what he told you 5 weeks ago and so on? Is this normal in FMA? I'm not sure I understand. Can anybody help me out with what you think this question means? Because there are enough derivatives of a standard form of a technique, that might just be the case. Like, when does an angle 1 become an angle 6, and what do we call all of the space in between? Yeah, I would say I think a lot of instructors teach in this way, especially with systems that are not codified, loosely codified, or are just so vast that or maybe you're just not paying attention. It's possible. Vagabond Grappler. Telegraphing for cue recognition, then reducing the telegraph as comprehension speed has increased. Yeah. You can reduce the telegraph, or you can just increase the speed and intensity of the telegraphed strike, because there's lessons to be learned about, fortifying your defenses with structure and things like that beyond the initial phases of the technique itself. But certainly you can do that as well. Telegraphing has to be graded so that you fine-tune the reaction speed. Okay. If the student processes slower, you have to telegraph more. If the student can process quickly, you can become more telegraphic. Yeah, agree. That's what my wife said. What does that even mean? I forgot. If they're failing to react appropriately, the teacher needs to be able to fine-tune or tweak their technique to improve their ability to successfully react. Yeah. This is being fluid with the quality of your feeds based on the student's ability to deal with it. That's just good teaching in general. You just need to work your hubad more so you can sense their energy before they strike. Raymond Flora, didn't realize you were watching. Hello, Coach Danny Terrell. Hello, gents. Hope all is going well for you. 20 years ago, GM Rene Latosa did train scenarios like in a shooting cinema, a shoot of students. Yeah. Oh, I can get into that. I can get into, this is already 2 hours long. Forget it. Refining how to teach and how to train, 2 key areas I've been working on this year, having some real success. Good for you. Congratulations. Learn to teach to learn. Yes, absolutely, indeed. Key Tertia philosophy. Creativity is underrated in this realm. Yes, 100%. Because oftentimes creativity is, people automatically think that creativity only relates to artistic self-expression, but creativity can be applied to something like adaptation. So creative adaptation, it can be attached to problem solving. So creative problem solving, meaning to say, solving problems in ways that aren't, a standard or orthodox. Absolutely. Creativity is way, way underrated. And the thing is, it's very difficult for some instructors to teach or to impart or to strengthen creativity. Is Joel based in Calgary? Yes, I believe so. Good evening, Clive. Oh, this is when we were talking about edge in. It has a place. I suppose when behavioralism and psychology training from sports science is applied to training methods, it will be a very interesting time. Wait. I'm doing that now. A lot of people are doing that now. Behavioral studies, psychology, sports science applied to training. I think that's been happening. Guru Dax likes edge in. Edge out is simply for safety reasons. No, that's ridiculous. Edge in forward grip is very American technique. Edge in forward grip. You mean to say because Americans are backwards? Just kidding. Adam Davey, depends on the handle. Some handles don't sit well. My hand facing in. Good for hooking, but I'd rather have the option to reverse slash. Yeah. I mean, like certainly some knives are purpose built for specific grip orientation. I like some of those, but I mean, not really that much. I mean, I like knives of all types. So just an interesting knife will compel me to just play with it. Edge out preference, easy, quick draw to slash, just my choice. Yeah. Pointy end into the bad guy. Okay. I like edge and reverse grip. Ray Floro showed me some really nice things back in the day, 15, 20 years ago. There are some really nice things you can do, but they are not, I wouldn't characterize them as edge in specific, maybe edge in enhanced, but a straight blade's a straight blade. They've got hooks on both sides. Edge in forehand grip uses at close range in the Spanish arts. Edge in forehand grip in close range? You mean the Spanish art of cooking? You see it a lot in Bowie knife usage. Dean is only going to places with waffle. I love Waffle House, man. You know, I've been in some good Waffle Houses in Atlanta. Did I go to one? I think I've only been to a Waffle Houses in Georgia, different places in Atlanta. Did I? Yeah, I think I've only been. No. Are there Waffle Houses in Florida? Anyway, Waffle Houses are great, especially late night, man. Good to go. Peace out. Peace, man. Make a stop in Rotterdam. Where is Rotterdam? Oh, yeah, I would love to go, man. You'll buy me a beer? Let's go. Could you buy me a beer and also a flight and hotel? I'd go for sure. What's up, Wing Chun Brotherhood? These are my hosts in New York City. Hope to see you guys again. How do you pronounce that name? Markin? Marquin? Marqueen? Marquinen? No, I'm just joking. I see you, man. I see you. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for your support, brother. I appreciate it. Rakesh Maharaj. That is the most Indian name next to Raj Patel that I have ever read. What's up? Let's have my Indian friend. I'm totally guessing. It's a pretty educated guess, though. Rakesh, you're Indian, right? You got to be Indian. I'm looking forward to experiencing GN's cocks. It's going to fly, bros. It's going to fly. The Cox Seminar Series. My Cox is going to be in your city. Yo, I need a designer to make me my Cox Series logo. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. What's up, Sarah? How's it going? Looking all Pocahontas in your profile picture. Very cool. I had my first Waffle House experience on Sunday. It was exactly the Waffle House experience you would expect. Did you know Waffle House has like a secret menu? Man, Waffle House is so good. Chicken fried steak, chicken fried chicken with that gravy, biscuits, onions, that hash brown. Oh my God, those eggs, bro. Some pancakes. I want to go to Waffle House so bad. What's oh my God, I want to go to Waffle. We have Denny's in Canada, but we don't have Waffle House yet. Tallahassee. Maybe I did go to a Waffle House in Florida. Let's go, bro. Let's go to Waffle House. Damn. Yes, to Waffle House in Florida and Texas. I think it might have been Texas that I went to a Waffle House in, other than in Georgia. Okay. Always plan these when I'm about to teach. So, yo, I'm going to see you in Houston, right, my man? I'll see you in Houston, Mark. We'll go train. There's a couple of coppers coming to that seminar. That should be fun. I'll go make sure to teach him some artsy stuff that'll never work in the street, just for fun. And then I'll send them your way. The cash is Indian. Boom. But is that South Africa? I think that's South Africa. South African Indian. Okay, cool. Gian, your thoughts, fixed blade over folder debate. Do you really want me to go through this right now? It's not really a debate, man. It's not really a debate. For defensive use on paper, logically speaking, you want to go with a fixed blade. But the reality is that nobody really wants to carry around a fixed blade just for defensive purposes, because folding knives are so damn cool. Not saying nobody carries a fixed blade, but for the most part, because 99.9% of the time you're going to use that blade for dicking around, flipping it open for no reason, and air stabbing, maybe opening a box or an envelope. Folder blade, it kind of reminds me of the conversation about like what's the best caliber for home defense use, and then or like the stopping power of a 22, despite the fact that you can make all the arguments in the world for a 22 not having very much stopping power. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 22s kill the most people. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like that. It's not really an argument, right? My thoughts on fixed blade over folder. Man, I love folding knives. I think with a folding knife, you have a broader canvas for the knife maker to express themselves creatively. But the argument is valid to say that, there's no moving parts in a fixed blade, and so it's more reliable, and so on and so forth. It's kind of ridiculous to me, man, to be honest. But yeah, generally speaking, we're just talking generally and on paper. You probably want a fixed blade for defensive purposes. But again, people really don't like to hear this. Like, you can buy a $20 knife from Walmart and it'll still do knife things. Come on, man, just kill me. Denny's Waffle House, someone's house. Oh my God, let's go. I want some fried chicken right now. I want some Popeyes or Church's. You guys have Mary Brown's where you live? Mary Brown's chicken. That is Mary Brown's. But you know what? Pound for pound, because I'm Filipino, KFC is still the reigning defending champ. Like, I don't care. You can say all you want that Popeyes is better, Bojangles and whatever, Jollibee. But, pound for pound with some white rice, original recipe KFC, day-old microwave with ketchup, still the best chicken in the world. Don't argue with me on this one. Do not argue with me on this one. The best fried chicken in the world is day-old KFC with some white rice and ketchup. I've traveled the world, bros. I've been everywhere. Okay? Still the best fried chicken, pound for pound. Do not argue. Do not argue. Oh, here we go. Mark Clarite. Popeyes or Jollibee. No, I hate to say it. And bro, I love Jollibee. I would kill for the B. But pound for pound, KFC's reigning defending champion. Worldwide. Original recipe. Rice, spam, and eggs, fine. But that's not fried chicken. Yeah, that's right, Timothy. All right, bros. I got to go edit. Holy, it's 5:30. What the hell? Where am I on this edit? Oh, I'm almost done. Okay. All right, guys. I appreciate it, man. Oh, come on. Stop with this. In NYC, Popeyes destroys KFC. Man, you don't know what you're talking about. What is this? Look, I'm not dissing Popeyes. I love Popeyes. There's a Popeyes like right there. There's a Church's Chicken right there. All right. I'm just saying pound for pound. All right. Pound for pound. KFC. Yeah. Sure. Fine. That's now though. Like, are we talking Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson. We're talking, this is like a Jordan LeBron debate here. We're not, no question, man. Fine. Bojangles has some nice side dishes though, man. Anyway, we don't have Bojangles in Canada, so. All right, that's it. Yo, follow me on Instagram. It's right down there. And yeah, stay tuned for some of my seminars. I just realized George St. Pierre was there the whole time. You guys ever seen this? I don't know if I ever showed this before. You guys ever seen this stuff? These are like my media passes from like a bunch of dope events that I went to. Brings back some memories, yeah. Anyway, yo, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate your time. And remember, if we see each other in person, come get your hug, because I really want to show you in person my appreciation for your encouragement and support and your engagement, right? Big hugs. We can high five, we can dap, but you can be like, yo, where's my hug? I'll be like, I'm sorry, bro. Here's your hug. So thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Stay happy, stay lucky, stay blessed, stay safe. Peace out.